Welcome to the Future of Factory Automation. This program is a broadcast of a Japanese podcast that has been translated into English using Notebook LM.
All right, so we're working from translated material today.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something pretty critical in manufacturing now. The growing complexity of factory automation software.
And specifically the need for much better version control, right? And, well, team development tools, too.
Yeah, precisely. Because, if you're out there trying to keep up with all this stuff, all the changes, it can feel, well, a bit much.
Overwhelming, definitely. Trying to figure out what actually matters, what's practical.
So our mission here for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to pull out the really important stuff, the key insights about version control in FA from this discussion we've looked at.
Get straight to the point, basically. Avoid the noise.
Okay, so where does this discussion start? It seems they kick off by pointing out something, well, almost old-fashioned.
Yeah, it's that common practice, isn't it? Manual backups, saving a file as project, and then the date and time, like project 2024, hole 10, Yun Point, Veverfan 1, 45 Jella.
Huh. Yeah, that specific format. It really makes you pause.
It does, and it brings up the immediate question. Why is FA still doing this in many places? I mean, the rest of the software world moved on ages ago.
Well, okay, let's unpack that a bit. The original speakers did raise an interesting point initially.
Which was?
They kind of wondered, do you really need that super detailed, constant version tracking you see in, say, web development, where they're pushing updates like daily?
Ah, right. Because FA software changes might be less frequent. Maybe updates only happen a few times a year or when a line changes.
Exactly. So maybe you don't need the heavy artillery of version control systems, but they pretty quickly move past that.
Because of the risk, right? The fear.
Yeah, the fear of changes slipping in unnoticed. Doesn't really matter if it's daily changes or yearly changes.
If something changes in a critical factory system and you don't know what changed or who changed it or when, well, that's a problem. A big one.
Definitely concerning. And that anxiety, plus just the sheer scale of things now.
The software is bigger, the machines are more complex.
Right. Which leads straight into the next big theme. The move towards team development.
Oh, yeah, the end of the lone wolf programmer era in FA.
Pretty much. That idea of one person handling everything for a factory's automation, it's just not realistic anymore for most complex setups.
The pressures are too high, shorter delivery times, way more software involved.
So you need collaboration. It's not just nice to have, it's essential.
And we're seeing more specialized roles develop too, right, within these FA software teams.
Yeah, you might have someone focusing on PLCs, someone else on HMIs, maybe robotics.
Yeah.
It's getting fragmented.
Which just reinforces that single-person development for big projects. It's inefficient, maybe even risky.
So if teams are the future, what does that imply?
Well, it directly points to needing modern version control systems, VCS, right?
And the discussion specifically calls out Git.
Yep. Git gets mentioned as a current widely used solution. And the advantages are pretty obvious when you think about teamwork.
Like what specifically?
Well, fundamentally, it lets multiple people work on the same project without stepping on each other's toes too much.
Okay.
It keeps a detailed log, who changed what, exactly when they did it. Super important for accountability and debugging.
And finding the latest version, I imagine. That must be key.
Absolutely. Knowing what the definitive current version is, and crucially, being able to see the differences between versions. That diff capability.
Right. Seeing the actual lines of code.
Right.
Well, we'll get to that graphical bit.
Yeah.
Seeing what changed.
Exactly. And things like branching and merging, being able to work on a new feature separately and then integrate it back in smoothly. That's huge for teams working in parallel.
Okay, that makes sense for traditional software, but now the elephant in the room for FA.
The graphical languages, yeah. Ladder logic, function blocks.
How do you apply these text-based version control ideas, like Git, effectively, to pictures, essentially?
That's the core challenge they highlighted. It's just different. Tracking changes in lines of text is one thing.
But comparing two diagrams to see the subtle changes in logic, much harder for a system like Git to handle natively.
Right, which is where innovation comes in. The discussion brought up a company called Software-Defined Automation.
Okay, software-defined automation. What's their angle?
Potentially game-changing, actually. Their approach, as described, is about making the underlying structure of those graphical programs visible.
How?
By parsing them into XML. Think of XML as like a structured text format that describes the graphical elements and connections.
Ah, so you turn the picture into structured text, and then you can use tools like Git to track changes in that text.
Precisely. It makes the differences trackable, comparable. It's a way to look under the hood of the graphical program.
That sounds pretty clever, actually.
Yeah, the feedback mentioned from Hannover Messe, a big trade show, was positive. People were impressed.
And a key aspect is that it aims to work regardless of the PLC brand.
That's the exciting part. A potential way to get a unified view, even if you're using Siemens, Rockwell, Omron, Mitsubishi, whatever, not tied to one vendor's ecosystem.
That would be huge for factories with mixed equipment.
Definitely. And they even touched on the longer-term potential.
Like what?
Well, if you start collecting all the structured data about how different PLC programs work across many factories.
You'll build up a knowledge base.
Exactly. And that could lead to higher level tools, maybe even using AI for things like analyzing code quality or suggesting improvements or even helping generate code snippets.
Interesting. AI and PLC programming. That's a whole other topic, but you can see the connection.
Yeah, the data foundation is key.
Okay, so that's an emerging solution. But what about the big PLC manufacturers themselves? What are they offering now?
Right, the discussion looked at that too. Siemens, for instance, they do have their own version control. But the question was raised, is it enough? Especially for these future multi-vendor environments. Is a proprietary system the best way forward? Maybe not.
And Omron.
Omron's approach is interesting. They offer Git functionality, which is good, but it seems you need a specific license.
A separate license just for version control.
A team development option license, apparently. And the kicker is it might be limited to just 3 users per license.
Only 3 users. That seems restrictive for team development.
It does raise eyebrows, doesn't it? You'd think tools that promote collaboration would be more, well, open and accessible, not limited like that. It feels a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, kind of defeating the purpose of team development if you artificially limit the team size like that. What about Mitsubishi?
They mentioned Mitsubishi's GXWorks having a proprietary check-in, check-out system.
Ah, like library systems. You check out a piece of code, work on it, then check it in.
Sort of, yeah. It's a more centralized approach, different from distributed systems like Git, where everyone has a full copy.
And likely developed a while ago.
Seems that way. It might not be ideal for the kind of simultaneous editing teams often need today.
And Siemens also has something called CEM.
Right, a project management system with block-level locking, so you can lock specific parts of the code. Useful, definitely.
But potentially expensive. And maybe more suited for really large internal engineering teams within Siemens itself.
That was the suggestion, yeah. Maybe not the most accessible solution for every factory floor team.
So we've got emerging external solutions and manufacturer solutions with, let's say, quirks or limitations.
Which highlights another big issue they discussed, user awareness, or lack thereof. Meaning a lot of useful features already exist in these PLC programming tools. Like Omron Sysmex Studio was mentioned.
But people just don't know about them.
Exactly. Users are often completely unaware of features that could save them time or help with collaboration or versioning.
Ouch. That sounds frustrating, discovering a great feature years after you needed it.
Totally. So there's this need for better education, better communication from the manufacturers.
The idea of having ambassadors or evangelists came up.
Yeah, people whose job it is to actually show users, hey, did you know you could do this? Here's how it helps.
Like quick tutorials or, I don't know, top 10 hidden features lists or something.
Something like that. Short videos, better documentation, active outreach. Because otherwise these powerful tools just sit there, unused.
All that potential efficiency just lost.
It seems so.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, what are the real practical takeaways here?
Well, the big one is pretty unavoidable. Version control isn't optional anymore. It's essential for the future of FA.
Because the software is just getting too complex and it's all team-based now.
Right. You absolutely need tools that can handle that complexity, manage the changes, and let teams work together effectively.
And ideally, these tools should be more user-friendly and accessible across different brands.
That's the hope, definitely. More standardization, less proprietary lock-in, easier adoption.
So to sum up this deep dive then,
Yeah.
factory automation software is getting seriously complex. And that means we absolutely have to shift towards using modern version control like Git and really embrace team development practices.
Right. The old ways manual saves one person doing everything that they just don't scale and they're too risky now.
And while the big PLC guys offer some solutions, They often have limits, licenses, maybe aren't quite right for every team.
Which opens the door for new players, like software-defined automation, with maybe more universal approaches.
But it's not just about the tools, is it? It's also about awareness.
Definitely. Users need to know what their current tools can already do. There's a big education gap there.
Okay. So that brings us to the end. Time for that final thought for you, the listener.
Given everything we've just discussed, think about your own work, your own field. How are you handling version control right now?
Yeah, what are the real, tangible benefits you might get if you adopted something more robust, more collaborative?
And maybe dig a little deeper into the tools you already use. What features are lurking in there, overlooked, that could actually make your life easier or your process safer if you just knew about them?
Worth investigating, right?